today we're going to talk about thesis statements, and I'll explain what that is in a few moments. But first, I wrote this lovely poem. For your convenience, the first letter of each line spells thesis, so hopefully you can remember it. And I think if we could say it out loud, hopefully we'll remember it better. So,
the statement of your argument and how you're going to argue, evidence to supplement and support your point of view. Incorporate the who, what, how, so you can write a thesis now.
Okay. We're going to talk about what each of the lines means and how it relates to your thesis. Your thesis statement is going to be the most important part of your paper, very nearly the most important part of your paper, because it's what's going to help the reader understand what you're trying to accomplish, what you're trying to talk about, and how you're going to talk about it. A good thesis statement is kind of like a roadmap to your essay. It talks about your destination, what you're going to argue, what do you want to prove, what is the main point of your essay. But even more importantly, it's going to talk about how you're going to argue, what evidence you're going to draw on, what reasons you're going to talk about, and all of those should support your final argument. Hopefully, that's just a basic, rough description of what a thesis statement is supposed to do. But it's helpful to talk about what that's going to look like in your paper. So, if the thesis statement is describing what your paper is going to talk about, where do you think it should go in the paper? Any ideas? Oh, Sarah.
At the beginning?
Exactly. Perfect. It's going to go in your introduction paper, in your introduction paragraph, right at the end. So you're going to have like a bold introduction, and at the end you say, this is what I'm going to talk about in the rest of my paper. You're going to draw on things from your second and third and maybe fourth paragraph that is evidence for what you're trying to prove, and then at the end you're going to have a conclusion that ties it all back together and relates back to your thesis statement. The one thing that's really important to remember, though, is that even though the thesis statement is addressing a question that your paper is answering, it should never be in the form of a question. Statement means a fact. So it's going to be one sentence that says, this is true, and I'm going to prove it to you. So I'm going to use an example about ice cream because everybody likes ice cream and it's fun to talk about. Say I want to write a paper that's what is the best flavor of ice cream. And I think that vanilla ice cream is the best flavor. My statement certainly can't be what is the best flavor of ice cream. That's what I'm answering. That's not a fact, right? So I could say vanilla ice cream is the best flavor of ice cream. That's a fact. That's what I'm trying to prove. But it's better for me to talk about why vanilla ice cream is the best flavor. So maybe I think it tastes the best to me. It's the most original flavor, or I can put the most toppings on it. I don't know, those all seem like good reasons. So I can incorporate all of those into my final thesis statement, which happens to be vanilla is the best flavor of ice cream because it tastes the best and is the most versatile. But if I write that thesis statement, I have to make sure that I talk about each bit of evidence in the subsequent paragraphs. I can't just bring stuff up and not explain it, because this is telling the reader what my paper is going to be about. Likewise, it shouldn't be too obvious. So let's look at this first example. The Union won the Civil War. I could end it there. That's a fact, right? And then I could talk about the Civil War. But everyone agrees with that. The paper should be talking about why the Union won the Civil War, and that's what you're arguing for. So you can say the Union won the Civil War because of reasons 1, 2, and 3, and that's something that you'll be researching. Martin Luther King Jr. affected the civil rights movement by reasons 1, 2, 3. This relates to the fifth line of the poem. Incorporate the who, the what, and the how. You should have a subject. You should be proving something about the subject. What the subject has done or the identity, the best flavor of ice cream. And then you should have the how. And that's going to be the evidence you draw on later in your paper. Cool. We can try our own thesis statements now.